Hey guys, welcome back to another album review. Today I'm going to be reviewing Volume 3, The Subliminal Verses by Slipknot. I thought it was time to get back into reviewing albums since it has been quite a while. This is Slipknot's third album. It's an album I used to say was my favorite album of all time due to many reasons, including experimentation, song structures, the steady departure from their earlier sound, all this stuff. And it's been a year since I made that video saying it was my favorite album ever, and so I privated that because I don't agree with all the picks in that video. So I think this review will be pretty interesting. I am a big fan of the band. I have some stuff to say about this album. I'm going to be going in depth, track by track, of course, starting with track 1, which is Prelude 3.0. It really just departs in a huge way from the chaotic, really dense sound that Slipknot established for themselves on their first two albums. The instrumentation and production is pretty simple. The clean guitar picking, the quiet drumming, and Corey Taylor's really soft voice. His voice sounds really raspy yet very calm. This all sums up the atmospheric verses. The chorus doesn't show up until the 1 minute and 30-second mark, where the song gets a little more repetitive in its lyrics, while the song gets more intense during the last chorus, especially as Corey starts really shrieking in this strange kind of whiny tone a little bit. I actually don't mind the shrieking. I think it's kind of cool, but I do think it's a little bit whiny. That's the high point of the song. The rest of the song is kind of mellow, and I thought it was an interesting choice to really open the album up with this song. It really says a lot about what Slipknot was trying to do with this album. Track 2 is The Blister Exists. The way Prelude 3 leads into this heavier cut that could have easily fit in with self-titled or Iowa. It's overall really well done, the transition. Joey Jordison's extremely chaotic and detailed drumming is the heart and soul of this entire song for sure. Even though the lead guitars do play a pretty huge role in this song, especially in the verse, Corey's intense screaming is back on this song, assuring the listeners that while this is a more mature, grown-up version of Slipknot, it's still Slipknot, and they will always be Slipknot. The chorus is noticeably melodic, and the drum section and the post-chorus is what makes this song really unique. It's just a drum song overall. Fun fact, this was actually the first Slipknot song I ever heard about 3 years ago. The masterful drumming along with the wide vocabulary used in the lyrics really got me hooked on the band. It got me intrigued enough to check out more of what this band has done. Track 3 is 3-0. The fact that this song is called 3-0, and it's the third track on Slipknot's third album, it's really conveyed well in the progression and structure of this song. The guitars and drums in the intro really sound like marching or counting. Corey screaming Nile launches this song into its main riff that would fit on Self-Titled extremely well. Self-Titled is my second favorite album by Slipknot, so I really like this part of it especially. There's a bit of a nihilistic attitude in the lyrics of this song, of course, which actually makes a lot of sense considering the title of the song. I love Corey's phrasing in the verse, how the rhythm all works together perfectly. It's super groove-centered, and I really just love that about this song. The breakdown in this song, or whatever you want to call it, it fits really well, I think, which is why the song is not only my favorite on the album, but one of my favorite songs in general. Track 4 is Duality, one of the big singles from the album. This song is extremely straightforward in every way possible, pretty easy to understand and get and take in. It lets Corey's clean singing voice really drive it forward, and the vocal fry kind of verse is not one of the best things ever, admittedly, but that chorus is just really big, really catchy, overall extremely fun chorus to listen to. I know people who aren't even Slipknot fans who really just love this song. It makes perfect sense why it was a single, and personally the song had to actually grow on me. I was not in love with it on first listen by any means. I still think it's actually one of the weaker ones here. But there are little moments in the song I really enjoy. I love that moment at the end of the bridge where Corey's scream leads nicely back into the last chorus. Track 5 is Opium of the People. This intro goes out to all the people who say Slipknot's guitarists have no talent. The quick harmonizing lead guitars are a fantastic way to start this song. The verse is a bit smaller compared to the rest of the song, kind of like most of the verses on this album, the Subliminal verses. The guitars are interesting enough to keep me invested, and the tamer chorus really slows down the fast pace a bit as Corey's clean vocals soar as he sings, "I won't give another soul to you." There's a lot of really cool lyrics in this song. I love how the second verse functions somewhat like a bridge. I guess technically it could be considered a bridge because it kind of deviates from the main song just enough. This is probably one of the better songs overall on the album. Completely entertaining all the way through. Track 6 is Circle. I have a lot to say about this one. This song, I don't hear a whole lot of people talk about, and I think it's just because it doesn't sound a whole lot like Slipknot. This song is an acoustic guitar-laced, bass-driven ballad with Corey Taylor showing an entirely different side of himself. "Give me the dust of my father" is the line that starts the song, and the way the song plays out almost makes this theme sound like a mystical kind of story. Behind 3 Nail, this is my favorite song on the album because it's so well executed in every way possible. The chorus has a fantastic vocal melody and it always gets stuck in my head. The unconventional structure of this song strangely seems to come natural to the band. As the main song closes out, some electronics and intense drumming coexist for a few seconds with the acoustic guitars, and then quickly enough that actually drops out and it transitions into this really cool like techno drum solo thing, and it's really interesting. This is probably the best written song on the album. Track 7 is Welcome. The heavy guitars that open up this song bring us back to more of a traditional Slipknot sound. With the rhythmic guitars in the verse, for some reason I find that this song resembles songs like Opium with the People and specifically the Blister Exist a little too closely for comfort. The chorus is not melodic, but it still has a big anthemic kind of feeling to it. I enjoy the really frantic talking included in the beginning of the bridge, along with the 2 distortion-heavy guitar solos straight after it. It really complements the song. The double bass leads nicely into the last chorus. It fits the chorus itself really nicely. I think whenever Slipknot does double bass, it sounds really great, just because Joey Jordison was an incredible drummer. I wish he was still in the band. Track 8 is Vermilion. For a long while, this song in specific is what brought the album down for me. The riff, or whatever that thing is, in the beginning of the song, along with Corey's voice in the verse, it just sounds gimmicky to me, if that makes any sense whatsoever. Almost like Slipknot was trying way too hard to sound scary or like spooky in some way. And this is why I don't care for bands like In This Moment. The kind of subgenre like that, I don't even know what to call it. It does a lot of things like that. It just feels a little gimmicky and try hard. Now what saves this song entirely for me, it's really just the excellent vocal melody in the chorus that appears towards the end of the song, and the bass line that weaves around the rest of the instruments during the part where Corey says, "She's the only one that makes me sad." And it just sounds really great there. The bridge is great. It just goes to show that one of Slipknot's strengths is in melody, especially in vocal melody. The guitar solo is more of a feel kind of solo. There's not much preciseness or hardly any notes used at all. It's mostly just like, I'm pretty sure there's like probably 5 unique notes in that entire solo. But it really does fit the mood and atmosphere of the song. Overall, the song has a lot to it. It's really fascinating to me, even if I don't like every little thing about it. Track 9 is Pulse of the Maggots. The transition from Vermilion into this song is the most seamless thing I've probably ever heard, actually. That, along with Corey really shouting, apparently riling up a group of people, it really just gives this song a fantastic start right off the bat. The guitars have some of the more memorable riffs on the album, with the sampling adding to the song a lot, and Corey's vocals being not quite screamed or sang, but rapped in the verse. And that makes this song sound a bit more nu metal than the other songs here. The chorus amplifies just how anthemic this song is in general, since Slipknot calls their fans Maggots, and there are a lot of pump up kind of like let's do it lyrics here. One can interpret this song easily as an ode to the passionate fans, which I think is really cool. It's hands down one of the strongest songs on the album. Track 10 is Before I Forget. You know how I said Vermilion and Duality are the weakest songs on here? Well, I think Before I Forget is probably weaker than those songs in some ways. I know I'm such a hipster by saying the singles are the weakest songs, but I genuinely feel this way about this album. I don't know why. It was just made to be a single. Like, it makes perfect sense to me, you know, it makes logical sense. The main guitar riff is hands down one of the most earworm kind of riffs to ever come out of Slipknot's discography. Once it gets stuck in your head, you cannot get it out. Honestly, the verse is pretty great in this song. I really love how the vocals are executed and layered. It all really works well together. Where it falls flat for me is that chorus. Now, Slipknot does anthemic well, as showcased many times earlier on this album. The I chants in the earwormy chorus seem repetitive at best and annoying and forced at worst. The lyrics themselves are some of the weakest on the album. They don't make a whole lot of sense to me personally. Although the bridge is pretty good, with the guitar riffs, Corey's catchy vocals, and the usage of that low piano in the background, I actually really like that. Overall, it's just a mixed bag for me more than the other songs. Track 11 is Vermilion Part 2. I think Vermilion Part 2 kind of starts awkwardly considering how strangely Before I Forget ended. Before I Forget ends like that, and then this just kicks off with acoustic guitars. Overall, this acoustic song is actually more of a true ballad than Circle was because there's no like crazy techno drum solo at the end of this one. The structure of this song is more typical of a rock ballad. I think the choice to separate Vermilion Part 1 and 2 in the track listing by a few songs is kind of an interesting choice, but to this day I really wonder if the album would have flowed a little better if they were back to back in the track listing. Either way, this song is far superior to Part 1 in pretty much every sense, I think. The soft, somber atmosphere of this song, it's just gorgeous. Corey's lead and backup vocals work extremely well together. The acoustic guitar is really pleasant, and the lyrics of course tie into Vermilion, except for this is kind of the sad aftermath of the situation with the girl and such. Now I'm not exactly sure what that storyline is. I know little bits and pieces, but I don't know like exactly what happens. If that girl was in the narrator's imagination, or if the girl died, or whatever it may be. Never been quite able to figure that out, so if you know about this, maybe leave me a comment about it if you want. Track 12 is The Nameless. This seems to be a song with quite a few different sides to it, honestly. There's that glitchy kind of record scratching in the opening of this song, then there's the really quick-paced verse, the acoustic chorus, the really heavy second verse, the more intense version of the chorus that appears later, etc. Thumbs up for variety for sure, they definitely nailed it. But it does get very awkward in some spots as it alternates between 1,000 personalities. One of my favorite parts in this song though is when it starts sounding like Mushroomhead a little bit in the beginning of the bridge. The transition into the last chorus has a bit of a weird mixing moment, I thought, with Corey's last scream cutting off a tad bit too soon. I do love the last chorus of this song because of how it's really melodic and also heavier at the same time. Overall, I kind of appreciate the strange flaws of this song because it makes it really interesting to me. Track 13 is The Virus of Life. Possibly the most industrial metal song the band has ever done. Corey's borderline whispered delivery in the verse complements the sampling, the bass, and the drums really well to create this unmatched, really dark, sinister atmosphere. Everything about this song is steady, with slow build-ups to more guitar-driven moments. The production sounds a bit messy and muddy with that static-laced lo-fi kind of sound, I guess. I'd say they accomplished exactly what they were going for in this song, to be perfectly honest. The last half of the song is a bit more intense and menacing in the guitar work and vocals, creating a sense of dread and panic. Strangely enough, the drums take a little bit of a backseat with this song. There are some strange things really added into this song, like the laughing towards the end, and most notably, the disgusting sound of Corey Taylor vomiting, and that is what closes out the song. Track 14 is Danger Keep Away. Like The Virus of Life, this song begins with a really dark atmosphere set forth by that keyboard that really resembles an organ in its sound. But the song is a lot more mellow, calm, and bleak than The Virus of Life. It could be considered a ballad in a way. Not to mention, the percussion does not even come in until the 1 minute mark. The guitar picking and Corey's vocals really work together pleasantly, and all the harmonies added on Corey's singing give this song more depth and character, and these vocals along with that haunting keyboard is what ends this album on a really sad note. I think this is a very strong closing song and one of the better songs on the album. But to be honest, I feel like I've said that 1,000 times, that almost all the songs are one of the better ones. Looking back on it, that's just how much I enjoy the album, I guess. Overall, I still think this album as a whole has elements that get overlooked by a lot of people, and I still think this is Slipknot's best album to date. For how they branched out, they tried a lot of new things while still sounding like themselves. They showed that they could do ballads and more tame sounding songs just as well as the heavier songs, and that labeling them solely as a new metal band is not entirely accurate in this sense. They showed lyrical variety in vocabulary with songs like The Blister exist, but of course the classic nihilism is still there from Slipknot's earlier material. Not all the songs completely stuck the landing, and that is the one thing keeping me from giving this an honest 10 out of 10, along with the fact that I'm realizing now I'm way too generous with my album scores. I've literally had to go back and edit a bunch of my old album reviews and give them a point lower than the actual score I gave them in the video, because I'm just like, no, that's not a 9 out of 10, what are you talking about? Anyway though, the flaws and the quirks to this album make it even more memorable to me. And so I'm gonna give this album a 9 out of 10. That is the end of my review for Slipknot's Volume 3, The Subliminal Verses. I will be reviewing All Hope Is Gone and The Great Chapter 2, but for now, I really want to talk about Volume 3 on the channel. Hope you guys enjoyed, and feel free to leave your opinions in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.